Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we're going to do a character study from Kaiju number 8. We're going to take a look at the character who my brain has happily named Baldy, though his proper title and name are Defense Force Deputy Director Kiji Yatami. Now, this is the bald guy who we first see in Chapter 33, when all of the bigwigs are discussing what to do with Kafka after he revealed himself by punching the Yoju bomb in Chapter 32. So this is the hardline pragmatist, clearly a Defense Force officer wearing a combat suit underneath his coat, even though he's clearly quite a bit older than the other characters. Maybe not, maybe he's just had a hard life, but we'll get into why I really think this guy was Director Shinomiya's mentor. But anyway, old guy, no hair, lots of scars. Let's take a look at him. This guy is clearly not just gone bald. It looks like he's lost his eyebrows and his eyelashes too, possibly had his whole head and face bathed in acid at some point. But anyway, he is the guy who first suggests that they just dice Kafka up for parts and use him as a weapon without telling the media anything. Pragmatic, simple, it would eliminate the danger. And interestingly enough, he is the only one shown being attentive to Director Shinomiya, because the next person to speak is Director Shinomiya, and Baldy immediately inclines his head and turns his full focus on the director. A small thing, but interesting that we don't see anybody else respond to him. We next see him in the observation chamber, displaying his intimate knowledge of Commander Shinomiya. Of everyone at the desk, even the other commander, the one with the eye patch seems surprised that Director Shinomiya would go in and handle this himself. And yet it's the deputy director who says this man always settles important matters personally. And he seems to be smiling down in patient consideration. This is another clue that I think that the Baldy here might be the older of the two gentlemen. We've all been thinking of Commander Shinomiya as old man Shinomiya, but he has a daughter who's not even 20 years old yet, it looks like. He's probably not much over 40 himself. So Commander Shinomiya is probably somewhere between 40 and 60, on the closer to 40 than 60, I'd say. This guy is much older. It's not out of the question that he was the guy who trained Commander Shinomiya. In the next one, we see that this guy is a natural teacher. He automatically starts explaining to Kikoru what's going on in the combat room below them while Commander Shinomiya is testing Kafka. And again, he's just calm. He's assessing the situation, following along. And then we get the crazy face. Now, this is when he's describing where the suit came from. We get a direct on full face, and his eyes are just a little too wide, his gaze just a little too intense, and he says that suit and those arms were built with number 2 as the base. So I don't know if they were going for unhinged or just intense here, but given how skilled these artists are at conveying exactly the emotion they want to convey, I'd say this is a soldier who is fanatically devoted, especially given in the next panel we see him in. The crazy is a bit heightened. We see that sort of intense combat lust in his eyes. It's shadowed over by his age, by the wrinkles. But this is like Bakugo, one of those characters who lives to fight, and his love for fighting is almost fanatic. But somehow he's managed to survive to old age, and as he says, a bit of damage is only natural under these situations. He was the guy who wasn't surprised at all when the clash of Kaiju number 2, as represented by Director Shinomiya, and Kaiju number 8 started to damage the room. And he's the one who takes the time out to teach, to explain. He analyzes the situation and he's the one who reveals to Kikoru that her father was definitely testing Kafka, and allowed Kikoru to realize that her father was trying his best to give Kafka a chance to survive. The deputy Baldy here, he says, if the director general planned on killing him, you would have been better off taking him out with his first attack while number 8 was in human form. So I think what we have here is Commander Shinomiya's probably mentor, his teacher, and his loyal subordinate. He does not have Commander Shinomiya's loyalty. He does not have that same level of love. So we have two soldiers here who are very similar. They're both utterly courageous, probably without fear. They're both dedicated to the cause of killing kaiju and protecting humanity. But Commander Shinomiya is the one with the heart. He would be the protagonist if this story had been set a generation earlier. This is his mentor and now loyal second in command. I'm assuming the deputy director got passed over for director either because A, he didn't want it, B, he just wasn't as good as Shinomiya, and the people around them recognized that. But the deputy director, despite his lack of heart for Kafka, he does seem to genuinely care about the director general, and you can see it in his eyes when number 8's fortitude starts to surpass Shinomiya's expectations. Also, he calls Director Shinomiya by his first name, with no honorific, and if you've been reading manga for any length of time at all, you know that's a sign of extreme intimacy. This is probably Uncle Baldy to Kokoru here, a guy that she's probably known her entire life. And as you can see, she is more comfortable with him than with the other commanders. Now, the final piece of evidence that shows that this is a loyal subordinate to a fairly close intimacy actually comes in the boardroom. Commander Shinomiya is making his argument for keeping Kafka alive, and no matter what Baldy's objections might be, he's got Commander Shinomiya's back. Now, he shows it in a really weird way, and I saw a lot of people commenting on this. Baldy was the one who reminded everyone around the boardroom, including Director Shinomiya, that his wife had died in the attack of Kaiju number 6. Now, Commander Shinomiya does not show personal emotion. He does not show anything like that. But you have unnecessarily expressing emotion, and you have the very necessary aspect of anyone who is in power letting people know when there's a situation that might compromise them. If somebody comes into a court and the judge is personally related to them anyway, the judge must recuse themselves. So say an attorney comes in and she's dating the judge will go, "Oh, excuse me, I have to recuse myself," and they substitute in another judge. If a commander is put in a situation where he's having to make decisions about someone who is close to them, his daughter, his wife, a friend, oftentimes there are entire systems of regulation put into place to prevent these situations from happening in the first place. For instance, if you have a family member, oftentimes you can't serve in the same direct chain of command. Like a dad can't be commanding his own son in a military regiment. I'm assuming it's the same for the defense force. The fact that his wife was one of the people killed in this could be an emotional heartstring he could have pulled on if he was one for that kind of argument, but he's not. But he can't just ignore the fact that his judgment might be compromised here. Now, it would be awkward for him to bring it up, and if one of the people who were actively disagreeing with him brought it up, it could be used against him as an attack. What Baldy is doing here is bringing up in a carefully controlled situation. You'll notice Baldy's very casual about this. He's just picked his chin up off of his hand. His eyes are half closed, and he goes, "Yes, along with your wife." He has laid it on the table, so no one can claim that this was something that Commander Shinomiya hid from them. No one can come back and use it later as an attack. The Baldy has effectively stolen the fangs out of this. Now, that he was comfortable enough to do this shows that he has a lot of faith in Shinomiya. He knows that Shinomiya is not going to lash out at him either publicly or privately about this. Again, it just shows that level of intimacy. And this kind of cycles me back to Commander Shinomiya and Kikoru's relationship. When she came to him as an officer, he had to reject her, well, at least he thought he had to reject her emotional appeal very vigorously and nearly violently, because as an officer, she should know that stuff has to go through the chain of command. She reported to Captain Ashiro. Captain Ashiro reported to him. There was no reason for her to come to him as an officer, and if she did, and if he responded to her, that would be showing nepotism, something he could not afford to do. And I assume that they are being recorded at all times in these situations. So when she came to him as an officer, asking for a nepotistic consideration, he violently rejected her. But But when she came to him as a person, not as an officer, and expressed her opinion, he quietly accepted it. And even though he had just violently rejected her statement as a professional, she still was fearless enough to come and confront him personally. And again, that just cycles back to my theory that the Shinomiyas have two completely separate relationships: a very strict and rigid anti-nepotistic professional relationship, and what is shaping up to be a very tender and touching personal relationship. And that might actually be something similar that Baldy here has with Commander Shinomiya. They are old friends, old companions from way back. And again, I think Baldy was Commander Shinomiya's mentor. But they still have to follow the strictest rules of decorum when it comes to their professional relationship as officers. So that's my take on the mystery of Baldy, who brought up Commander Shina's wife in the meeting. What do you think? Do you think that their relationship might be different? Who is this mysterious bald guy, and what is his relationship to Commander Shinomiya? Go check out my links below the video for the audiobook copy of Humans Are Weird. I have the data, a book of human absurdity if you want to laugh while we wait for the next chapter to drop. Peace out, my wonderful viewers.
The book from author Betty Adams, Humans Are Weird, I Have the Data, is a humorous look at human behavior through the eyes of aliens. This book is arranged in separate reports or essays, documenting the experiences with humanity through the lens of the aliens who have to interact with them. This anthology of short stories and vignettes from alien points of view highlights some of humanity's quirks we can all relate to. Author Betty Adams captures how strange and interesting humans can really be. This is a fun collection of stories you will really get a kick out of. Humans Are Weird, I Have the Data, from author Betty Adams. Order your copy right now on Amazon.